How did I get here?
Near Death is a first-person action survival game created by Orthogonal Games and released back in 2016 for PC. Its premise is simple. You're a pilot who's crashed near an abandoned research facility in the middle of nowhere, Antarctica. There's no chance for rescue, and a blizzard is rapidly encroaching upon you. You're desperately alone and have to scrounge together whatever you can to try and survive, with the slim hope that you can make your own escape. It's a game that asks a very simple question. Do you have what it takes to survive?
Obviously not.
The whole game is this relentless back and forth between you and the weather. You explore this base to acquire bits and pieces of scrap that help you push back against the cold, and just as you start to get comfortable, the blizzard worsens and you encounter numerous setbacks. There are no traditional enemies in this game, no combat or anything commonly scary, it's just you. The vast cold, uncaring Antarctic expanse and your survival skills, keeping you just one step ahead from freezing to death. In the words of the Scottish National Antarctic Expedition crew, it's a wee bit fucking nippy, lads. The cold is your main enemy in this game, and you have to manage it. Keep yourself warm and you'll keep on fighting. Run out of resources or stay outside too long, then you're dead. As you desperately scrounge around the base, you find more and more equipment to fight against it. Your main source of heat being a portable heater that may as well be your only real companion out here. Your other tools include a flashlight to actually see where you're going, various types of poles to make fumbling around outside not a complete death sentence, a blowtorch to open up the otherwise blocked doorways, and various scattered schematics you can find around the base to help upgrade your equipment. Fucking yes, man. Most of your equipment and utilities can be crafted with the previously mentioned bits and pieces you find scattered across what remains of the decommissioned research base. You're encouraged to explore every nook and cranny you can find in this place, dashing between rooms, compromised to the cold, and then back to an enclosed space with no opening where you can effectively use your heater. You then double back to places you'd previously explored with the new objectives and equipment to unlock areas with what you've gathered. In other words, it's a corner scratcher. If you haven't realised it by now, Near Death is a very stressful game, especially if it's your first blind playthrough and you're learning its game loop and mechanics. You're always keeping an eye on your constantly dwindling resources and tracking the amount of time you've spent in the cold. Despite this, it's not a frustrating game. Autosaves are plenty, and you can quick save and load at any time. You also have a map with a compass, which, with a little bit of orientation and patience, can guide you around the base fairly reliably. So long as you keep an eye out for landmarks or mark your own way to places, you can do it pretty well. Not that I would ever have an issue with that. I should have done D&V. You also get opportunities to get some breathing space. Early on, you switch on partial power to various segmented parts of the base, meaning some safe rooms have lighting and heating. This also means that you don't have to use any of your resources, such as your finite fuel-using heater. You can relax, take a second, plan your next move, and if said plans fall through, you can always retreat to a place you know will be a safe place for you. A warm and comforting reprieve from the chilling nightmare you find yourself in. It's here and in other places where you really begin to appreciate the atmosphere of this game. The story of the game is pretty bare bones, but serves the game really well in keeping the tight focus on survival. No grand conspiracies or something malicious hiding in the dark of the blizzard. It's just you, the protagonist, and your efforts to survive. The protagonist being the only person with voice acting. The unlucky and unnamed Pilot 173. She does a pretty good job considering that this is just a humble indie game.
Okay, think. What's close? There, Sutro. Okay, heading 215.
You've crash landed at the abandoned Sutro station, a partially decommissioned research complex split between various zones. Initially, you're just trying to find shelter from the rapidly dropping sub-zero temperatures. You find a device that lets you contact the only other character in the game, Jack, communicating from the faraway McMurdo station, basically being told you're on your own and a massive blizzard is on its way. Jack isn't so much an actual person than a glorified objective giver, pushing you in the right direction and coming up with plans to what you need to do to survive. Eventually, you both settle on upgrading the last remaining land vehicle at the base to make a vast, long-distance drive to safety at McMurdo. Whilst getting these parts, you begin to see firsthand how bad the weather is getting. The blizzard and snow is growing louder, thicker, and stronger as it begins to slow you down and restrict your vision. Eventually, it gets to the point where it hits negative 100 degrees Celsius, and you have to do one final task to escape. A final challenge that will test every skill and resource you've acquired so far in this near-death struggle. It's here I'll interject with the big timestamp so you can skip any spoilers. It's nothing big, but a rather climactic moment that's been led up to the entire time you've been playing the game. All the struggles you've been going through and all the stress you've experienced. I highly recommend just getting the game yourself and experiencing this firsthand, unspoiled. The game is cheap, it's only £6, and it clocks in at just under 2 hours, and I highly recommend you play it yourself. Alright, last chance. Here we go. The climax of the game is you climbing up a large hill to reach the radar building that overlooks the entire base. The storm is at its thickest and most deadly, and the building itself is the most destroyed and unprotected part of all of the base you've seen so far. At one point, you have to make a heart-dropping tightrope walk over a gondola line. Every dash between tiny moments of safety, feeling the excruciating distances from each deteriorating room from one to another. You reach the peak. Darkness and fleeting specks of white swirling all around you, your ears enveloped in a constant bellow of harsh wind and oppressive music. The cold begins to kick in as you don't think you're going to make it. You reach for the final radar component, grab them in a panic, and then... the storm stops. The howling winds recede, and the music becomes tranquil. The dark clouds begin to part, and you see the brilliant night sky filled with countless stars. You look down over at the base, finally seeing it in all of its entirety. It's small. Buildings that felt miles apart were in truth less than a couple of dozen meters away from one another. The light poles you used as your vital lifelines blink below you. Your ropes look especially haphazard in this new clearing. You can even see where your plane crashed and really see just how much the cold and snow blinded you from how close together everything was. You see how it manipulated you and brought you to your knees multiple times. you begin to descend. Relief pouring over you, as now everywhere is now safe. You bask in the music and the achievement of completing your last objective. Eventually, you return to your vehicle and you begin setting off to true safety and surviving your near-death experience.
Are you there? I'm coming home.
I don't know how to drive.
Near Death is a lean but impactful game. It sets out what it wants to do and achieves it, doing so with flying colours. It kind of solidifies my stance that indie games nowadays are the real types of entertainment that provide a true emotional engagement with players, at least in my opinion. It's a game that lets you experience a primal fear that's rarely touched on in games as effectively as it does it here. Fear of the cold, fear of running out of time, and the fear of death being not from a monster, but rather from something very tangible and real, one of which has claimed countless lives so long as humanity has explored the coldest regions of our planet. I really like this game. I highly recommend getting it and cozying yourself up in front of your monitor, experiencing it in just a single sitting. It's here you can really appreciate what comforts you have in your life and how, in just an instant, the cold can just take all of it away. Check it out.